Today's podcast, we've got Rod Gruendyke, who is the general manager of the Sunset Marquis Hotel right here in West Hollywood.
Yeah, the Sunset Marquis this year is celebrating 60 years.
Incredible.
And I have actually been in a lot of meetings with Rod because he is the chairman of Visit West Hollywood's board of directors. So talk to him a lot. Nobody has the kinds of stories that Rod has, and he shares those with us today.
Totally. He started off with U2 and then went through all of these incredible musicians that have either been here, performed here, and shared this really unique sort of haven that the Sunset Marquis is, this hidden gem right here in the heart of the city. So
yeah, everybody's heard of the Sunset Marquis, but nobody knows exactly what the allure is. And I think we uncover that today.
Yeah, so definitely want to tune into this episode as we hear more from Rod. Well, this is going to be pretty exciting.
I'm excited.
Yeah, there's so much history here, and I know that, you've certainly, the Sunset Marquis is so iconic and so much a part of the fabric of West Hollywood. So thanks for taking the time to
it's a pleasure.
Chat with us and share a bit more of your stories, the story of the property, and give people a taste as far as what they can expect in the city.
So good to see you, Rod.
See you, Jeff.
Once again,
Yes.
on a podcast. I love it.
In the Americas.
Right. This is the way we should do it all the time. We, before I came to work at Visit West Hollywood, I would always hear stories about the Sunset Marquis because I have some rock and roller friends who just are so fascinated with the whole industry. And they would always talk about the Sunset Marquis, and I'd never been here. And to now be able to work with you and to talk about these stories and to be able to experience it is really very special, first of all. And I appreciate everything you do for Visit West Hollywood.
Pleasure.
And then I was telling these guys, nobody has stories like Rod Gruendyke from the Sunset Marquis. Like, it is just one thing after another. It's just amazing. So we had to get you on and talk about this stuff.
Well, I'm excited to be here and looking forward to sharing some of these stories with you.
Awesome.
So, so tell us, you've been here 30 years?
32 years.
32 years. How'd you end up at the Sunset Marquis?
It was a fluke. I was working for Four Seasons Hotels, and I had left Four Seasons, and I took a job at the Beverly Regent Hotel. And I came down, did my interview, and got accepted, and I was staying at the hotel. And then I had about 7 days off before I had to begin. And I had recently gone through a divorce up in Santa Barbara, so I relocated down to LA. And I had a friend that was working at the Sunset Marquis Hotel for this company. Her name was Lisa Hagen. And I reached out to Lisa, and she said, "Why don't you join me for lunch before you go back up to Santa Barbara?" I said, "I'd love to." And I went to the wrong hotel. So I went to the Westwood Marquis instead of the Sunset Marquis.
No. Oh, my gosh.
And while I was waiting for Lisa, I met the corporate HR director, Jacques Rigaud, and I met the CEO at that time, Gabriel Esquivias. And we started talking, and they asked me if I was in a hurry to get back to Santa Barbara, and I said no. And they said, "Why don't you spend the night here, and let's talk tomorrow morning?" So I'd be happy to. And I spent the night, and I talked to as many employees as I could throughout the night and wandered the hotel and wandered the Westwood area. And I fell in love with it. And what I noticed the difference between the Regent, Beverly Wilshire, and the Westwood Marquis was the attitude. And it was very sterile at the Regent. I came from a five-star property too up in Santa Barbara, and beautiful grounds, and we had 12 acres and great employees and long-term employees. The Regent had great employees as well, but it seemed like everybody was scared. They were very intimidated by upper management, and it was kind of a unique feel over there. And I had a really good a tour and discussion with employees. So the next morning, I was talking to Lisa, and I was talking to the upper management of Raleigh, and they'd asked me to come work for them. And they offered me $40,000 less than what the Regent offered me.
Wow.
But I figured if I was ever going to make a change in my life, now was the time to do it.
This is true.
When I came over to the Sunset Marquis and I walked back and saw the gardens, and I said it was meant to be, because I love the Biltmore in Santa Barbara. I love the outdoorness. I love the location. Yeah. And when I saw the gardens here, I said, okay, this is where I want to work. So I told the ownership I'll work for them for 4 months. And if something opened up after 4 months, then great. If not, we'd shake hands and I'd go off my separate way.
Sure.
And 4 months later, the general manager position came available at the Sunset Marquis, and I took it. And I've been here ever since. And I was, as I mentioned earlier, I was a single dad. I had some fun stories. I'll lead into one where we had U2 staying with us. And I told my kids to kind of hide off into the corner here because I was saying goodbye to the band as they were leaving. And then I noticed Bono walk over and sit down with my kids and start talking to them. And then afterwards we said goodbye and they went on their way. And my daughter comes over and goes, "Oh my God, what's a Bono? What an unusual name." And she came home and named her parakeet Bono.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And then a couple of years later when she was a teenager, she said, "Okay, Dad, don't tell this story. I know who Bono is. That would be cool." But my kids were kind of led me into the guests of the hotel, meeting them.
Yeah.
And Bono showed up in my office pretty much my first week as well and said, "Hey, I'm the owner of the hotel. And if you terminate any of the long-term guests here, any of the employees, we'll never come back." And I said, "Not going to get rid of anybody. We're happy to be here and happy to have you." And then it just built from that point on.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, I'm just going to dive in.
Yeah,
But
please.
how did Bono and you two end up staying here in the first place? Is it just because of the location by the Sunset Strip, or what?
It was the history. So we had, we really kind of thanked Jeff Beck for bringing the music side of the business to us. And we opened the hotel, and George Rosenthal was very involved with comedy. He would go down to Troubadour in the comedy club, and we'd bring up artists to the hotel, and they'd say, "Well, we have no money." And George said, "Well, it's fine. We'll do shows on Wednesday nights, and I'll pay for your room and board here at the hotel."
Wow.
So we started with comedy, and then Jeff he moved out of the Ondas, which was the Riot House, and he felt that the American bands were kind of stealing their riffs. And he came down to the Sunset Marquis, walking down Alta Loma, found the hotel, and he moved himself down here. Then the Who followed, and Led Zeppelin followed, and we became known as that English hideout for the rock and roll bands.
So cool.
And really kind of took off.
Wow.
So.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. It first opened in 1963.
Correct.
So this is, was it actually one of the first all-suite hotels?
It was first all-suite hotel in the United States. And it was also a fluke because the original thought was that when we built the Playboy building on the corner of Sunset Boulevard and Alta Loma, that we were going to attach a large 300-room hotel to the west side of that wing. And after we built the building, and when the neighbors found out what we were planning on doing, and the lawsuit started, we backed out of it and then focused on the location where the hotel is at now.
Oh, that's so cool.
And the original plot was 1 acre, and then over the course of time, now we're 3.25 acres.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So what is it about this property that really allows it to be this haven for these creatives, these musical creatives?
Well, it starts with George. I think George, the owner, set the tone of what the hotel was going to be. It's going to be a creative hotel. George never wanted to be a high-rise. He wanted to be a property spread out. He wanted really to entice the entertainment, the creatives to come and visit the hotel, and that's when he got involved with the city, with the marketing association, was the creative city. And George wanted to create this paradise that people were safe in, that they can come in here, they can write music, they can perform, they can write books, they can feel safe, and then be 40 steps from the Sunset Strip or right above Santa Monica Boulevard. And he wanted to entice people to come here and stay for long periods of time.
Yeah.
And that happened. And he created a great environment, and Lisa Hagen took it over, and she did an amazing job here in going after it. When I came in this hotel, I was shocked by how many people overseas knew about the Sunset Marquis. And I want to say more people knew about it in London than locally here.
Yeah.
And we would go visit clients in London, and we wouldn't even sit down. We would say, "Oh, yeah, I'm here with the Sunset Marquis," and I see 5 or 6 other hotel representatives there of Peninsula, Four Seasons, big properties. And they say, "Oh, right this way." We could be immediately let in, and I was in shock. And we were that well received. And, we had from a lot of long-term guests staying with us from that English market, so worked out quite well for us.
Yeah.
That's such a great point because, I know how long I've lived in the city, and I do remember when I first discovered the Sunset Marquis, and I was thinking, wait, how did I not know that this was here? And it is interesting that it is this special place that's just tucked away, and it just has created this really cool environment. So I want to hear a bit more. There's a lot of unique factors about this particular property. You are really, I believe, the only hotel in the area that has recording studios.
That is correct.
Tell us about that.
Nightbird Studio.
Okay.
Started with Jed Lieber, and Jed, his father was Jerry Lieber and Stoller. And they wrote most of Elvis Presley's music, Jailhouse Rock, Blue Suede Shoes, and they have many, many Grammys. And Jed's a piano player. He's a writer, songwriter, a phenomenal musician, piano player. And Jed lived across the street in the same building I did at the time, the Park Wellington. And I was introduced to Jed by Lisa Hagen. We started talking about finding an area for him to set up camp. And we had an old studio here that was designed back in the late 80s and was never used. It failed. And it was maybe 400 square feet. And it was being, when I came here, it was being used as a storage room for chairs. And a very expensive storage room, probably about $80,000, $90,000. So we took out the chairs and showed Jed, and Jed said, yeah, this would work. And we started putting his equipment in there and realized that it was too small. Next to the studio, we had our own little laundromat for the hotel guests. So the roadies could come in, wash their jeans and T-shirts for 50 cents, put them in a dryer, and they loved that.
Wow.
So we knocked the wall down, took that out. They almost had a riot here at the hotel with the roadies. They were not happy about that. Had to send their jeans and T-shirts out. And we increased the size of the studio, and we still can get Jed's equipment in. Still too small.
Oh, my goodness.
So on one side, on the right-hand side, were 6 parking spaces. And we said, okay, let's go 6 parking spaces. So we built it out. Jed did the interior. We did the exterior. Jed put all the equipment in there. We opened it up, and it took off. And very quickly,
What year was that?
1994.
Okay.
Wow.
And we did, I think in our first or second year, we did the movie Ocean 11 downstairs.
Oh.
So it was taken out for about an 8-month period on a 24-hour lockout. And David Holmes was the gentleman that did the music for it. He was nominated for an Oscar, didn't win, but nominated. We had Clooney and the other participants downstairs a lot watching and putting the music together. And it was a huge success. And once you get something that clicks, then everybody wants to be there. So we had Drake started there, had won 8 Grammys downstairs. Katy Perry went downstairs, Christina Aguilera, and the list went on. Steven Tyler, Aerosmith, Green Day, U2, and it just kept going. One time we got contacted by Monday Night Football, said we want Steven Tyler and Joe Perry to do the Monday Night Football song. We put a green screen downstairs outside the studio. They stood up there with their guitar saying, thank God it's Monday Night Football. The next night it was on Monday Night Football.
Wow.
So we did a lot of different things. We've done redubs for Tony Bennett. We've done John Cleese, Fawlty Towers. We did a lot of fun stuff down there as well.
That's
so now we've won over 200 Grammys.
I was saying, I knew there was some number. I'm going to have to remember. 200.
200 that either written, performed, or sung downstairs sung, performed, or written downstairs in our studio. American Idol was there the first 7 years, American Idol.
Wow.
We couldn't advertise it or share that information, but
I'm sure.
the early days, this is where the last 10 contestants ended up at. And all the kids were around the property rehearsing, and then every interview, everything you saw on TV was done downstairs. Wow. So it was a fun time. We got to meet a lot of the young people coming through.
And do a lot of the artists who record here stay here
at
some point during the recording process?
They don't have to, but the majority of them do.
Yeah.
So
part of the allure, I would think, is just, the creative process,
convenience.
right?
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
You never know who you're going to meet. I mean, when we opened the whiskey bar back in '94, #1 bar in California, I'd leave the whiskey bar at 2 a.m., go downstairs to the studio, say goodnight. I'd knock on the door, and Steven Tyler would open the door. Rod Stewart would open the door.
That's so cool.
And it'd be all these people down there. And I was the perfect fly on the wall because I have no musical background.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. I was like, do you have any musical background?
And it's less than 0, that's me.
Okay.
And I would just say we had this famous purple couch that's still downstairs.
Yeah.
And I would sit on the purple couch and just kind of hide out and listen to the stories and listen to the riffs and listen to the music being played and listen to the sing-alongs. And at like 3 o'clock or 4 o'clock, I'd get up and walk home. I lived across the street. And the next day I start up again and do it again. And it was just a neat experience. And then when I got kind of in that uncreative mode, I would go down in the middle of the day and find out who was playing down there. And usually it was Jed working with somebody. And I said, can I come in and just sit on the couch? And I'd sit on the couch and listen to them create music and play. And I was just amazed by it. And it got me excited again to go back upstairs and keep going.
That's so cool.
So you mentioned the whiskey bar, which is now called Bar 1200,
Correct.
right? And how long was it the whiskey bar?
We were legal for, I won't say, at the time. And the first night we opened, we had 24 people there. And Randy freaked out. I said, no, it's okay. It's a small bar in a small hotel. Not an issue. Second night, we turned away 500 people. Third night, we were turning away thousands.
No way.
Yeah, and it was scary. And I ended up hiring very quickly 6 or 7 off-duty police officers.
Yeah.
I had 6 to 8 of my own staff. So I have 12 people around the bar and outside the street there. I was trying to appease my neighbors. And it took us a couple months to get it kind of organized and under control, where you had to be on a list to get in. The list was my list. I was turning away superstars, which were angry at me.
Yeah.
And I was, people didn't like me a lot. And I just said, it's a tiny space. I got to follow the rules.
Yeah.
Bear with us. The city put me on a pager 24/7. So any complaint from the neighborhood would come to me directly. I had to respond to.
Wow.
Yeah. So it was an interesting time. And we had the A-list, Cher, the Rolling Stones. We had George Harrison. Julian Lennon, longtime guest, was there. His father, John, used to stay with us in the 60s and 70s. And, when Friends was first starting, the group from Friends would be here every night.
Yeah.
Every A-lister
cool.
would be here at the hotel. And it was just amazing seeing this tiny space. They all gather around and be together.
It really is in the DNA of the Sunset Marquis, all of that, right? It was kind of built in from the very beginning. And you still feel it when you're here.
Yeah.
Like I'll bring guests here to have lunch at Cavatina, and we'll be sitting out there, and one day we saw Cardi B walk by.
Yeah.
And the people I was having lunch with just fell off their chairs. They're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, she's here recording. It's, just another day at the Sunset Marquis.
You obviously, this property has been such an integral part of the creative community, and you've even had different celebrities, musicians that have lived here over the years
And performed here.
Yeah. Can we share a couple
Yeah.
for those that might not know?
Well, the room we're in right now, or this building, I won't tell you what the name of it is, but this building here was very popular with most of the groups. So Gloria Estefan lived here for 6 years, 6 months out of the year.
That's great.
And so did Phil Collins. So they would spend as much time here as they possibly can. We saw Phil's family, his children,
Grow
up here,
Yeah.
learn how to swim here at the hotel.
Oh, that's neat.
And then we had, the Who, this is their favorite villa here location. Billy Bob Thornton lived here for 4 years in this villa,
Wow.
nonstop. And Billy's, one of our favorite guests of the hotel. He's the mayor of the Sunset Marquis. So we feel, very honored to have people like that staying here. Michael Bolton's been staying here since the 1960s.
Ooh.
And we run into Michael. I mean, everybody runs into Michael here on properties here all the time.
Yeah.
I had a funny story where John Oates of Hall & Oates, I met John when I was 17 or 18 years old in Santa Barbara doing an internship at a hotel.
Yeah.
And he got thrown out of the Biltmore Hotel because his girlfriend wouldn't button her shirt. And he called me up and said, is it okay if we come over here and my girlfriend doesn't button her shirt? And I said, hey, I'm 18 years old. I'm fine with that. Not a problem.
Yeah.
And they came over, and when he asked me if I had a piano, I said, I will tonight after the wedding was over, and took him down there. He goes, let me play you some music I've been working on. Next thing I know, he's singing me Sarah and playing some other songs. And I'm going, here I am going.
Good song.
This is amazing what's going on. Flash forward 25 years or 20 years, and now he's staying with me at the hotel. And we become friends. And I told Jeff, I said, mind if I tell you a story? And he goes, sure. And I told him that story, and he couldn't believe that I was the same kid, when I was 19 or 18 years old. I met him there at that hotel. And we did a performance here for our 50th anniversary. I had Stevie Wonder come in and perform. And John was on tour, and he was here at the hotel. Billy Gibbons was not on property, and he was on tour, and Billy said that he'd fly in and perform. So I got Billy Gibbons in here. So we put together a band. And the reason why this happened was Jeff Beck and Jimmy Page were going to be my performers for that night. And everything was going smoothly until about a week out. And the Olympic Committee from London contacted Jimmy Page and said, we want to fly you to China right away for the closing of the Olympics in China. And we want you to stand on top of a red double-decker bus and play a song. And we're going to advertise we're going, the next Olympics is in London. And Jimmy goes, I hate to do this to you, but I'm pulling out. And I go, oh my God. I looked over at Jeff, and Jeff goes, well, if Jimmy's not here, I'm not going to perform because I wanted to perform with Jimmy. So now I'm left with no talent. So within a matter of a week, we put it together, and my assistant had worked for Steven Tyler before. For Stevie Wonder before. And she called him and got on the line with him, introduced myself. And I had met Stevie when I was back in my early 20s at another hotel.
Wow.
And
Really?
I told him that story. And he kind of started laughing. He goes, yeah, what date is it? And I gave him the date. He goes, yeah, I'll be there. I said, that's it? He goes, that's it. I'll see you 9 o'clock that night.
Oh.
And I was sweating it, thinking that he would never show up. But John Oates said, you know what, Rod, I'll play for you. I'm in town. I'll put a band together. And Jed Lieber played keyboards, and We had a drummer, and we had a Joe Bonamassa was living behind us, and Joe said, "I'll come over and play." And then Billy Gibbons showed up, and Billy played a guitar. Wow. Now we got this great band and great singers. And at 9 o'clock, Stevie Wonder showed up and performed. And I just kind of fell against the wall to the side, and someone took a picture of it. But like all my stress, all my high blood pressure just left me all at once.
Oh my gosh!
I said, "This is really happening. This moment is really happening."
Where did he perform? Down by the pool?
Down by the pool.
But the main pool? Or the
main pool.
Okay.
We had 1,200 people in the hotel. And we had so many people that we had put TV sets around the hotel on the back areas for people to watch what was going on. Everybody was on their balconies performing. We had neighbors on their balconies, couldn't believe it. They said, "Oh my God, that guy sounded so much like Stevie Wonder. That was great. Let them hear it again," you know? So, well, actually,
You're
that
like,
was Stevie
wow.
Wonder. Yeah.
Wow.
And we've had Steven Tyler perform here. We've had Julian Lennon perform here. We've had Miley Cyrus perform here. So we've had a lot of artists, a lot of A-list artists.
Yeah.
And I love
going.
that story because it just shows what you've cultivated. Yeah. I mean, because they really were like, "No, we're going to rally and do this." And I mean, how cool. Not every day that somebody can just say, "I called up Stevie Wonder and he did us a solid."
Yeah. And you know what? We never, the other thing about the Sunset Marquis, we don't use people. So I'm saying their names now, and I know it's okay with them to say their names.
Yeah, of course.
And to share that. And we protect them. And I've been here so long, I'm taking care of their kids now. And it's a unique place where people feel safe. They know that we're going to protect them. We never ask for anything in return.
Yeah, of course.
And so when we're doing someone's saying, "Oh, you're going to invite me back?" So after the 50th anniversary, I had like 5 or 6 people that we didn't invite say, "Hey, can I come back to the 60th?" So we have some unique people when we do it again that will be up here performing at the hotel.
It's so interesting to see, who's been here over the years and then they come back, and I mean, that it's so unique because there aren't really other places that can quite say that. And certainly not within the music community.
Yeah. I mean, we have great hotels in West Hollywood, and we each have our own uniqueness. We don't have the views of the Pindri or the Mondrian or the Edition or One Hotel. But we're, as you found out today, we're on 3.25 acres and very spread out. We have, our services are different from those hotels, and those are more chain properties and known more around the world than we are. We're kind of this hidden little paradise that our old ad campaign was, "If you know where it is, you know where it's at," and that's who we are.
That's couldn't be more accurate. Yeah. So, okay, we're in West Hollywood. For those that might not be as familiar with West Hollywood, or just they're interested in putting it on why it should be on the map for them, how would you describe the essence of the city?
Yeah. Well, if you start with the hotel, I worked for a company I mentioned earlier where if you were blindfolded and took the blindfold off in the guest room, you wouldn't know what city you're in.
Correct.
And the Sunset Marquis is not like that. You know immediately what hotel you're at. You immediately know where you're at. And the city of West Hollywood's the same way. There's so many unique things here of the rock and roll element on the Sunset Strip, of the gay element on Santa Monica Boulevard,
the design district,
of the energy that's here. There's 18 hotels in West Hollywood. Each one's unique and different. There's so many boutique hotels that they're hidden away that have tennis courts on top and swimming pools on top and bars on top, that each one has their own uniqueness that attracts people to this area.
Yeah. It does have that. And I think what's so great about this is that it does have that neighborhood feel. Yeah. So when you're staying here, you do feel like you're actually living like a local, which so many people, I think, are gravitating towards now.
And the other thing is, when I drive by the other hotels, I watch the guests that come out of it, and I see, what? They're marketing beautifully for that hotel. That's the right guest for that property. It's not a guest for the Edition. It's not the right guest for us. It's the right guest for that hotel. Yeah. Where they're looking for something that's easier to get in and out. They're looking for more private, walkable to the restaurants, whatever. Every hotel has its uniqueness.
Totally, it does. Okay, I love this this game I play with everybody called Playing Favorites. Okay, obviously, fan favorite is the Sunset Marquis and everything here. But if somebody was coming to West Hollywood, I mean, you've lived here right across the street for some time. What would be how would you kind of curate their perfect day in West Hollywood?
Coons Hardware. So if you want to have an image, oh my God, Russ Wilson and his brother, business there 50 years, or I don't know how long they've been there. Yeah. But I can't tell you how many times, either for my apartment here or for the hotel, I have an account. I probably spend a couple $1,000s a month with them for the past 30 years.
By the way, I love that you.
That's a good plug.
It is
Yeah.
because and I love that you bring that up because
Yeah.
that is something that everybody, especially when you're thinking about Sunset Boulevard or Santa Monica Boulevard, you're thinking about all the bars and the restaurants, and the next thing you know, you've got Coons Hardware, and for probably most tourists wouldn't necessarily see it, but it's a reminder that we are a neighborhood. We are people live here.
Yeah.
And you're going to see just as many stars
I was going to say
down
there's
there
probably
as you can see. They
probably
all
some
live on
really-
the Hollywood Hills
Yeah.
here.
Exactly. So
Interesting celeb
So
sightings in there.
celeb spotting
Yeah.
at Coons Hardware,
Yeah.
that's where it's at.
Yeah.
That's good.
Oh my
That's
gosh.
good.
No,
But
I
that's
love that.
but that's West Hollywood. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the uniqueness of it to have those. The people don't know what the PDC is. They don't know if it's
Right.
it's open to the public and
Yeah.
you walk through. It's this big green, blue, red building. It's amazing inside. And to have Wolfgang Puck to open a restaurant there and do things, it's fantastic. And that's what's unique about West Hollywood. And believe me, I walked to all my meetings. I walked up and down the strip. You walk in and out of places. You're meeting the energy of West Hollywood. You're meeting people that have their blood and life and energy involved in it.
Yeah.
And it's neat.
Yeah. So for people who want to stay here,
Yeah.
the best place to be in touch with the Sunset Marquis is sunsetmarquis.com, I'm
Correct.
assuming, right?
Correct.
Or visit westhollywood.com. Either
Yeah.
way, you can go to both. But any tips for anybody? Best time of year to visit? Any?
There's something special going on all throughout the year.
Yeah.
So the first quarter is all the award shows. So every hotel in West Hollywood is very busy with Grammys, Oscars. There's like 18 award shows going on.
Yes.
So the first quarter is very busy. The second quarter is production starts up. So a lot of advertising is going on and production groups are going through. The summer months then leads into the music side of it. So the bands are touring. So second to third quarter, you have a lot of bands going through West Hollywood and touring. And then at the end of the year, you have the production people being back. They're doing the commercials for New Year's and for the Super Bowl and whatever else is happening in that time period for the beginning of the year.
Yeah.
So all year throughout the year, it's amazing. West Hollywood, it's just, again, I feel very thankful that, how in the heck did I end up here, in West Hollywood, where my pathway, if it hadn't been for that one breakfast that I missed and went to the
Right.
wrong location, I never would have been here. And 32 years later, I'm still here working for the Rosenthal family.
But again, I think that's so much of what we found in all of our conversations that we've had on this podcast is that these little like happy accidents
Yeah.
that turn into something that it's like this was so meant to be, and what you've been able to. Yes, this might have already been established, to a certain extent, but then what you've been able to add and continue on this legacy. I mean, now you're very much a part of the fabric.
Yeah. If I can share one more story.
Yeah,
if I can.
please,
Yeah,
please.
At our Cavatina restaurant, when we were developing that and actually putting the pictures on the walls and the chairs in the room, Whoopi Goldberg came in and she had a gift wrapped up. And she's very dear friends with Timothy White. And we opened up the picture and it was her sitting on a toilet at Disney World in Florida. And she goes, I want this mounted right next to the entrance to the women's bathroom of your restaurant down here. And she goes, Rod, this actually happened. I was at Disney World with my grandchildren and my daughter. And when I was going to the bathroom, people were putting their autograph books underneath the stall for me to sign them. And she goes, I thought it'd be such a funny picture. I had Timothy shoot it.
Oh my gosh.
And she goes, I want this at your hotel next to the bathroom. So today, if you walk down there, it's next to the women's bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
As
Oh
you
my
walk
gosh.
in. Billy Bob Thornton saw that and said, hey, I want my picture up
I
here.
want a version of that.
So he walked in with this bad Santa picture where he's collapsed by the urinals. He goes, I want my picture right next to the Timothy shot next to the men's washroom. So
Oh
that's
my gosh.
downstairs. So everywhere in the hotel, there's a story to be told. Every picture you see at the hotel, the guests have stayed with us. The guitar down there, those are all pictures except for two that were shot at the hotel. And that guitar was hand painted.
So many treasures.
So many treasures.
That is so great. Oh, I'm definitely gonna have to go take a look at that artwork by the bathroom.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's been there. I didn't know the story behind it.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it was personally chosen by each
Personally
of them.
chosen.
That
That's so cool.
That makes it even cooler.
Wow. Well, this has been such an incredible conversation.
As always. All right,
it.
Rod.
Thank
Congratulations
you.
on the 60th anniversary, and thanks for everything.
Thank you. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you.